This is a full body strength practice for your menstrual phase. In this workout, we are taking advantage of low hormone physiology in a couple of different ways. We are building intensity not necessarily through your heaviest weight selection, but instead through cumulative volume. So we have 4 rounds of our circuit today, which is a lot of reps. So we're building that heat, that intensity through the volume of work. We're also challenging our balance. So we'll move through lots and lots of different exercises that have us shifting weight from one side to the other, balancing on one leg, moving the arms independently. So that unilateral patterning that helps us work on balance, that works on proprioception, and that serves us in the menstrual phase when our hormone interference is kind of at its lowest point. It's also a good one because we aren't using the super heavy weights. So especially if you're someone who's still on the path to kind of a pain-free period, maybe you still experience some symptoms in those first few days of flow, this is a great one because we are using a lighter weight selection. We are just inviting the body to move in a way that feels good. So you can use anything from 1 pound to 8 pounds, maybe body weight only for some of these movements. They are compound movements, so we're using the whole body in each one, and that is by nature going to elevate your heart rate and create some heat. You might notice, like myself, that you start sweating much more quickly in the first half of the cycle, that your cooling is more efficient. So we have this opportunity to generate that heat in a way that's not going to leave us depleted. This one is a bit sneaky. So there's just 5 exercises. We're doing it in 4 rounds, lots of rest in between each exercise, but it builds. The heat, the intensity builds throughout the practice. So be prepared for that. And with that, it's nice to have a few options for your weight selection. So I started with 8 pounds, which doesn't sound like a lot, but in this practice, believe it or not, that was plenty. It felt very heavy towards the end. I also have a set of 3-pound dumbbells that I'll be switching to for some of the exercises, particularly as we work on the smaller muscle groups in the shoulders and we're taking the arm out away from the body. So we're increasing that load on kind of some of these smaller muscle groups. So those 2 sets of weights, you'll also want an elevated surface. I'm using a yoga block in today's practice, but you can always use a dumbbell and just lift your heels onto the sides of the dumbbell. You can use a rolled up yoga mat or rolled up blanket, anything that's going to help you shift more of the weight into the ball mound of your foot so that we can target the quads and kind of activate the front of the leg a little bit more. So as I mentioned, we have those 5 exercises. Each one will be performed during 60-second intervals, and then we have a full 30 seconds of rest. So this is a longer rest period than you might see in some of our higher intensity workouts. And that's done on purpose for this particular part of the cycle where you might be just slowly starting to ramp up in the first half of your cycle. So we have the short version of the workout, which is just 3 rounds. You can complete that in about 22 and a half minutes and be on your way. Or if you're staying with it for the full 30 minutes, we'll complete 4 rounds of work. This video is just the workout itself, so there's no warm-up or cool-down included, but I have included a link to our very short warm-up and cool-down in the description of this video. So I encourage you, if you're not coming in warm, take those 5 minutes to get your body moving and to kind of ramp up slowly. And then again, at the end, take that short time to help your body transition. It'll support your recovery. It'll help keep your body from sort of freezing after the workout itself. It kind of helps you guide the body back down to your baseline. So those elements are linked below. As requested, I have included a movement tutorial at the beginning of this video. So before we get into the workout, I'll break down each of the movements in detail and give guidance on form cues, different modifications you might take. And I really encourage you to tune into that for this particular workout because we are using kind of more circular patterns. This is part of our elemental medicine series where we are embodying the water element. So we're taking out the hard edges, we're taking out the linear flow, and we're adding that fluidity, that circular motion. With that, there's a bit of complexity or a bit more involved in creating the rhythm and the movement. So that movement tutorial at the beginning is a great way to just kind of practice it body weight only and get the feel for kind of the rhythm and the momentum that comes in each pattern, so that when you pick up the weights, when you're ready to start your workout, you can just drop into that flow state and be in the practice. And let's get started with our tutorial now. Before we jump into the timed portion of our workout, I love to run through the 5 movement patterns that we'll be using in today's workout. So these 5 exercises are incorporating compound movements where we are combining upper and lower body exercises. And we're also incorporating some fluidity, some circular motion. This is part of our elemental series where we are drawing upon the qualities of the water element. So they're not your typical linear in-out movements. We're looking to create more of that arc, more of that circular patterning, like water that moves around an obstacle. We're incorporating that in our strength training session. So our first movement pattern is a squat with around the world. So we begin in our squat position. Feet are slightly wider than hips width. The toes are turned out, heels are turned in. Create that nice long axis in the spine. Draw the low ribs and the hip points toward each other. It's not a posterior tilt. We're just shortening that distance to create some tone in the low belly. Broaden across the chest. Palms are facing away from you. We drop the weights down in a squat, and then single-sided, we lift the knee to chest and take the weight around. So it's an around the world with a squat, but single-sided. So we're requiring a lot of stability, a lot of recruitment in the core to allow you to perform this unilateral exercise. So that squat and around the world. If you need to split the movements apart into their component parts, you can squat, let your knee come up, and then do the around the world. This requires a lot of strength and mobility in the shoulders, so that static around the world will be more challenging than if you use kind of the momentum and the power that you have coming up from the squat to help get the weight overhead. So your choice there, you can keep that separated into its component parts until you get the flow and then move in a more rhythmic way. Our next movement pattern is a forward lunge and press. So the weights will start at your shoulders. You'll take a large step forward, but not so big that you're overextending that back hip flexor. So it's a step forward to where you're 90-90 with the legs. So kind of this strong stance. And then as if you're going to step back to standing, you'll lift the foot toward your chest. So again, coming into that single leg stance, come back down. And then we press as we exchange to the other side. So you turn to the other side. Same thing, press off that front foot, tap the knee, come back down, press and rotate. So again, we're creating that arc with the weights. They come up and over and back down. Press from the front foot and back down. I'm someone who typically practices more reverse lunges, so stepping back. So the forward lunge adds that little bit of challenge. It's a slightly different dynamic, transferring the weight from your front foot to the back foot. Our next movement pattern here involves a single leg deadlift. So you'll start with your feet about hips width distance apart. And we begin with taking one knee into chest. So a lot of these movement patterns, we're transferring weight from one side to the other, kind of that flow between sides, really observing the distribution of weight. So here, as the knee comes in, we bring the weights forward, up, and around. And then we come back and lower the weights as we come into that single leg deadlift. Here, we'll turn the weights to face each other. We'll do a single arm row each side. And then again, we lift the weights forward, up, and around to exchange sides. So we step down, and then we reverse that around, forward, and down into the single leg deadlift. Turn the weights to face each other, draw the elbows straight back, single arm row. Again, lifting forward now, bringing the knee to chest, around and down. And then as the knee comes in, reverse the direction, come back down. The single arm row, we're working on balance here. So not only are we in a single leg position, but we're moving each arm independently. So that requires, again, a lot of balance, a lot of stability from the low belly and the posterior chain. In our next movement pattern, it's helpful to have an elevated surface. So you can use a block, you can use a rolled up blanket, a rolled up mat. You can also use one of your dumbbells. This one, we are elevating the heels to focus more effort on the quads. So you come to your elevated surface, bring your heels lifted, spread the toes, balls of the feet rooting down. And then we're coming into a bicep curl. So you have your weight here. As you lower down, tap the elbows to knees. And then as you come up, offer the arms forward and rotate them out to the side. Come back in, create that static curl as you come down, and then reach forward, rotate out, and back in, lower and up. So that's our fourth movement pattern there. And our last one, I'll demonstrate this one with lighter weights. We're moving into alternating curtsy lunges with, again, a circle in the arm. So as you start with same leg, same arm, when we are stepping back, the arm moves backward. So we're doing a shoulder circle backward. So it looks like this. We're circling back, curtsy lunge, and then forward to come back to center. Circling back, curtsy lunge, and forward, back to center. Don't sweat it too much if it doesn't look exactly the right way, so long as you are moving in a fluid pattern and kind of relaxing the boundaries, letting them be less linear, less fixed and straight, and exploring kind of more the full circular motion in the joints, so both the hips and the shoulders. Those are our 5 movement patterns. We'll perform each one for 60 seconds, and then we'll have 30 full seconds of rest in between. So we are still in the menstrual phase. We have this low hormone physiology, which allows us to kind of tap into that higher intensity, but you might still be feeling a little bit on the low energy side. And if that's the case, it's great to have these longer rest periods in between. So we'll have 4 rounds. If you're short on time and you want to keep this to a more condensed workout, you can complete 3 rounds, which will get you kind of around the 20-minute mark. If you're staying with it for the full workout, the full 4 rounds, that'll leave you closer to 30 minutes. We are working a lot with shoulder strength and mobility, so it's helpful to have a few options for your weight selection. For today, I'm staying on the lighter side. I've got a set of 8-pound dumbbells and then a very light set of 3-pound dumbbells for maybe that 3rd and 4th round when the shoulders are feeling a bit fatigued, or even some of the movements that target the smaller muscle groups in the shoulders right out of the gate, using the smaller weights so that I can maintain form and really focus on the movement, let it be less about kind of that max effort to get the weight where I want it to go, but instead being able to explore that kind of fluid nature in the shoulders and hips. You'll also want your elevated surface, as I mentioned, so grab those items and we will get started with our workout now. We'll get started in about 20 seconds here. Grab your weights. We're setting up for our first movement pattern, which is a squat with a single leg around the world, single arm around the world. So you've got those feet about hips width distance, maybe a little wider, toes turned out, heels turned in. Let's go in 3, 2, 1. Begin. We squat down, take it around the world, knee to chest. Squat down, around the world, and up. Take it nice and slow. So we are in that menstrual phase. Maybe this is your first weight training session of this cycle. So kind of ease into it. There will be opportunities to move more quickly as you get further into the cycle. But here we're just kind of slowly coming into the strength training practice. We are building that foundation that will carry us through the rest of the cycle. So it is challenging. The weight is heavy, but it's not kind of your max out effort. Circle it around, squat down. These are longer intervals, so you can take your time. And rest. 30 seconds on the clock. We're moving into our forward lunge and rotate. So you'll have your weights. We're stepping forward into the lunge, hugging the knee in, stepping forward and rotating to the other side. So I'll guide you through as we go. Going in 10 seconds. Collect your breath deep in through the nose and sigh it out. Let's begin in 2, 1. So we step forward, hug the heel in, step forward, press as you rotate, lunge, heel in, lunge, and press. Other side, lunge, draw it back, lunge, and press. So here we're pushing off that front foot, working on balancing on one foot, one leg, creating that stability, that postural stability, helpful for things like walking, running, so that you can do it in a really balanced way, so that you're not creating any micro misalignments throughout your daily patterns. Over, lunge, draw the heel in, lunge, over, and back down. We've got 10 seconds. Lunge, up and over, lunge, and back down. Shake it out, rest. You can drop the weights for a moment for this 30-second rest period. We're coming into our single leg deadlift with that front raise and hip circle. So you can grab your weights. They'll start down in front of you. And again, we're just bringing the weights up and around and then back as we take the leg into that forward single leg deadlift. Here we go. Let's begin. Bring the weights forward, out and around, circle the hip, and then come to the other side. Back, around, and single leg deadlift. So lower down, find your balance, single arm row. Elbow back, take the weights forward, around, and down, and then reverse it as you exchange sides. Around, forward, and down. Single leg deadlift. Row, elbow comes back. Row, so that unilateral movement. Forward, around, and down, circling the hip. Forward, around, and down. Here we go. Single arm row, elbow back. Keep the belly strong. Reach the crown of the head away. Take the weights forward and around. Circle the hip. And reverse the direction to exchange sides. It's a row and row. Take it forward and rest. Those intervals, the 1 minute intervals are long, but as we're incorporating more elements in each movement, they go by pretty quickly. Our next pattern is an heels elevated bicep curl and rotation. So grab your elevated surface, coming into that heels lifted position. Spread the toes so you have that firm connection of the ball of the foot on the mat. Find your static curl. Tap elbows to knees. Press it out and forward. Rotate and back. Elbows to knees. Find that static curl. Press it forward and around. Coming out. So we're in a lot of these movements, we're creating one direction on the exertion and then reversing that to come back. So there's kind of those two phases to each movement pattern. Find your breath. Elbows to knees. Press through the feet to lift up. Feel the biceps working here. Keep the spine long and strong. So from the crown to tail, that strong axis of the spine. Last 5 here. Breathing and rest. Coming now to our curtsy lunge movement pattern. So again, single arm circles with this movement. So as you take the leg back, the arm circles back And as we come back up, it circles forward. So same leg, same arm, circling back and forward. These are great body weight exercises as well, if that's more your jam in the menstrual phase. Let's go in 2, 1. Let's begin. So we take it around and down. And with that arm circle, it'll require that you slow the lunge down. So move with intention, create that slow and focused movement in the lower body to match the wide circle in the upper body. So we're in that low hormone physiology where you might notice that you're sweating more quickly. We are just coming up on the first round and I'm already sweating. I can feel it. That kind of efficient cooling mechanism during this phase. So we can take advantage of generating a little bit more heat, maybe sweating a bit more without the high risk of depletion. 2 and 1, rest. Whew. That first round was a doozy. So make adjustments that you need. Maybe you want to go up or down in weight. Maybe you want to take 1 round of body weight only. And then when you're ready, we'll jump right back in. 15 seconds. Shake it out. We're coming back to that squat with 1 leg, 1 arm around the world. Grab your weights. Starting position. Palms are facing away from you. 2, 1. Let's go. Squat and around. Squat, arm and leg. Come to center. So we're creating these half circles with each side of the body. And we're working each side separately. Again, to address postural imbalance, things that you might have accumulated in years of habitual movement patterns, but that you might not even be aware of. This gives the body an opportunity to work each side separately. So each side is responsible for making the movement happen. You can't let one side take over. 15 more seconds. Here we go. 10. Last 5. And rest. Shake it out. 30 seconds rest here. And then we're moving into that sweeping lunge. So weights are at the shoulders. We're stepping forward, hugging the heel into the sitting bone, stepping forward and pressing to create that arc through the center as we exchange sides. 10 more seconds here. Doesn't take a lot of weight with these compound movements to create some heat, some power. Here we go. Step it forward, hug the heel in, balance, and then come through center. Try to create a bit of hang time in that phase of the movement where you're drawing the heel in. So you find your balance and then step it forward. Press and around. Notice if this pattern in particular is more challenging on one side than the other. What that might be telling you about your dominant side. Use this as an opportunity to try to equalize the sensation, the strength, the power between sides. Come through center, lunge, hug that heel in, come down and around. Last 5 seconds here. And rest. You can set your weights down. Coming into now that hip circle with the arm circle. So back and forward between our single leg deadlift with that bent row and exchanging sides with the circular motion, so that fluid motion. Coming through center. As you're ready, 3, 2, 1. So bring the knee up, out, and down, and then we come out, up, and down. Find your single leg deadlift, straight spine. Draw an elbow in and elbow in. then come forward, out, and down. Then we come out, up, and forward. Come into your single leg deadlift. Find your balance first. Let there be no urgency, no rush. If you fall out, come right back in. So using this opportunity to work on single leg balance as well. Find your single leg deadlift. Row, row. Take the weights forward and around. And then we bring them around and forward. Single leg deadlift, long spine, feel that hip hinge. You need not come too far down, maybe mid shin is all. And rest. Set those weights down, prepare your elevated surface for our next movement pattern. We'll have the heels lifted. This one, I felt that first round in my shoulder, so I'm gonna drop to a lighter set of weights. Just being mindful of the longevity of this practice, wanting to keep that good form all the way till the end. So palms are up, we've got that static curl, and we lower down, squat, elbows to knees, press it out and around. Find that engagement in the back as you rotate around. Press it forward, rotate, shoulder blades press onto the back, down and curl. Offer it out, around and back. Curl. Keep that energy of the thighs hugging to center. Feel that midline magnetism there that creates stability and will help you activate the quads. So you're not dumping weight in the heels. You're really shifting the weight forward into the ball mounds of the feet. Out and back. Curl it. Elbows to knees. Out and around. Here we go. Last few seconds here. Out, around, back, and down. Take it up and rest. You can set your surface off to the side. Coming into our curtsy lunge now with the arm circle. So same side, arm and leg. We're circling back and forward as we alternate sides here. Gather your breath. We're coming into the end of round 2, halfway there in this workout. We'll go in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Circle it back and down, and then forward and up. Circle it back and down, forward and up. Alternating sides here, creating that nice, smooth, slow circle. So there's no rush. You should feel the side waist awaken. So you might feel this work in the ribs, the intercostals. Tomorrow you might feel kind of these accessory muscles working. So we've got our major muscle groups, that focus, driving the action. And then we have so many more parts of ourselves participating to keep us stable, to keep us strong. So paying attention to those little nuances in the movement. What is making this movement possible that you might not see right away? And rest. Set your weights off to the side. Again, use this end of the second round as kind of a checking in point. Where do you need to adjust? Do you need to slow the pace? Do you need to pick up heavier weights? Just really creating that opportunity to check in and to calibrate so that you can make this workout serve you. We're going in 5. We're coming into that squat with around the world. So if you're in the short version of this workout, squat and around. This will be your last round. You'll just complete 3 rounds of this circuit for about a 20-minute, maybe a little longer workout. If you're staying with it till the end, we're about halfway there. Around the world, squat and around. Hopefully you're with me, you're sweating. Take any opportunity you need, whether it's during the rest or otherwise, to towel off, Grab water so that you can stay comfortable, so you can stay powerful. Notice the transfer of weight from one foot to the other as you come up. So we're working in kind of the side plane here. And rest. You can set the weights down for a moment, shake it out, rotate that spine. Coming into our forward lunge with the sweep and press. Grabbing your weights as you're ready, shake it out. Come to about the midway point of your workout space, and we'll go in 10 seconds. We're stepping forward. Bring the weights to your shoulder height, elbows nice and close to the body. Let's begin. Step it forward, hug that heel back, find your hang time. Forward, sweep and press. Forward lunge, hang time, sweep and press. So again, you can slow this movement down as much as you need to. If you find your balance is wavering a bit, slow it down. Notice where your mind is. Is it wandering? Can you bring it into the space to help support you in balance? Sweep and exchange. Press it back, lunge, overhead, and back. Sweep and down. Hug the heel in, down, and overhead. Last rep here. Down and press. Oh, one more. We've got 5 more seconds. You got this. And now rest. Setting the weights down if you need to. Even that lighter set starts to get heavy with these complex movements. We're going in 20 seconds for our deadlift, single leg deadlift row with that hip circle and arm circle to exchange. So grab your weights, come to your mat. 3, 2, 1. So we take the weights forward, circle the hip out, and then reverse the arms to come up. Lower down, find your single leg deadlift, get your balance, row, elbow comes straight back. And then we bring the weights forward and around. Reverse it, around and forward. Single leg deadlift here, row, find your balance. Really control the descent as you lower into that deadlift so that you don't lose your balance. Around and down. Lower into the deadlift, find your row, take the weights forward, around, and down. Switching sides, or creating that hip circle as we move through center. Come into your deadlift, row, keep the chest expansive, around and down. Rest. Find your elevated surface now. Again, your choice. Stay with your kind of more challenging weight selection, or if you're feeling it like me, moving to something a little bit lighter, a little bit more manageable as we take the weights far away from the body. So as we move kind of straight arm, the lever arms increased. 2, 1, let's begin. And with this long lever arm, that weight goes a long way. So a little bit of weight goes a long way when you take the weight away from the body and use that lever arm to create more engagement, more activation, to recruit more strength. Around, back forward, find that static curl. So again, with these compound movements, you'll even start to feel the legs with just 3 pounds in your hands. Start to build that heat, build the sweat. And back. Press it out, take it around, and back. We're here for 10 more seconds. Press up, around, and back. Elbows to knees. Press out, around, and back. And rest. Coming into the last exercise of our 3rd round here. that curtsy lunge with an arm circle. Getting ready. Coming to the center of your mat. We've got about 15 more seconds, so towel off, grab water, whatever you need, maybe stretching out the shoulders a bit. We'll go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we take the arm out and back as you lower, and then forward and down as you come through center. Exchange sides. And forward. So again, we're taking the weight out away from the body, increasing that lever arm. So it's going to require not only strength in the prime mover, but lots of stabilizing force from the belly, from the hips. Lower down slow, come back through center. Take it out and back. And come forward and down. Down and back. Here we go. Last 7 seconds here. You got this. Take it out and around, up and back. Rest. Set your weights down. So if you're doing the shorter version, 22 and a half minutes, this is where you can shift into your cool down. If you are staying with it for the full 30 minutes, we're entering our fourth round now. So what do you need to create to make it through till the end with expert form, with good mechanics? Does that mean dialing back the weights, slowing it down? 2, 1. Let's squat with around the world. Here we go. Squat and around. Take it around. Again, feel the transfer of weight and notice. This one I love because you can't cheat. You can't swing the weights or it'll throw your body off balance. If you try to swing the weight, you'll overcorrect and you'll come out of that single leg posture. So we have to slow it down. We have to really put in the work. It's more of a static arm circle here. Can't get away with using too much momentum because of the balance component. I really love working on balance challenges in the menstrual phase. It's this low hormone time where there's less interference between left and right brain, so you feel a bit more connected and rest, a little bit more dialed in between the sides of the body. It's again a great time for your mental and emotional currents to be more aligned. So just listening here throughout your movement practice for anything that's coming up, anything that's bubbling to the surface through your effort, through your sweat. We're coming into our lunge, forward lunge, and press sweep. Here we go in 2, 1. Step it forward, draw the heel back, step it forward, press and sweep. Step it forward, draw the heel back, step it forward, press and sweep. Draw that heel in, back, around, and down. Heel hugs in, find that hang time, around and down. We got this. Use your breath. Where do you feel the work? Especially as you find that hang time. Is the balance becoming more challenging as the body gets tired? Or are you able to dial it in to create focus and presence so that the balance comes with less effort? Around and down. Feeling the shoulders here, feeling the legs, the glutes, and rest. Set your weights down. 30 seconds between sets here. Rotate it out. Sort of let the breath come down for a few moments. Coming into our single leg deadlift, bent row with the arm circles to exchange. Grab your weights. We'll go in 3, 2, 1. Take the weights forward, around, exchange, reverse the direction, come into that single leg deadlift. Single arm row, elbow back, and row. Then bring the weight forward, circle the hips, circle the arms, exchange, transfer the weight from one side to the other, come forward and down. Find your balance, row and row. Come forward, around, and down. We're almost there. Around, forward, and down. Single arm row, draw the elbow back, keep the spine long. Come forward, around, and down. And lower into that deadlift. Elbow back. And come up. Last 5 seconds here. And rest. Set up your elevated surface for our bicep curl and rotate. I'm going to stay with the lighter weights here. Just feeling that to keep the shoulder integrated, especially as the weights come far from the body. For me today, that means lighter weight. It may even mean dropping the weight altogether, coming into body weight only. We'll go in 3, 2, 1. Find your static curl, knees to elbows to knees. Press it out, take it around. Nice and slow. So resist the urge to make the movements more jerky or more rigid. Kind of take out the boundary so that it's more fluid. We are tapping into the water element here. So there's fewer hard edges. There's fewer stuck points. We just flow from one movement into the next. Find that rhythmic pattern. Map it onto the breath. Coming down and around. We're almost there. 20 more seconds here. Out, around, and back. Feel the strength in your biceps. This is a constant effort there in the upper arm. And rest. Coming into our very final exercise. You can set your elevated surface off to the side. Grab your weights. We have 1 more minute of work. Alternating curtsy lunge with that arm circle. We're going in about 10 seconds. Give one last shake out before we enter this final set of work. Going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Take the arm back and around nice and slowly as you curtsy lunge. Forward and down. Take it around, down, forward, and back. Down and forward. Be in it for the next 40 seconds. We're here till the very end. You've put in the work. Stay present. Notice where you are feeling this effort. Anything you can do to bring your attention to the body, to the sensation, especially as it gets hard. Out and back. 10 more seconds. Around, back, and down. Last 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we are complete. Set your weights down. Shake it off. So this particular workout doesn't include those warm-up and cooling elements. So this is where I leave you today, but I have included a description of our quickest cool down in the description below. So please give yourself that space. I think it's 9 minutes long to transition, to ease out of what can be kind of a higher exertion state into the rest of your day. So you're guiding your body back down smoothly. So I leave you here. Thank you so much for showing up and for letting your body be moved.